At Rogers Center, and it is 18 degrees. Now it's time for the starting lineups. They're brought to you by Quaker State, real, durable oil. For the Rockies, it'll be a different leadoff man. B.J. LeMahieu, the second baseman, is going to lead things off. Then Carlos Gonzalez. Michael Kadire is in right field, and against Mark Burley. He's got a lot of at-bats. They both played in the AL Central when Kadire was in Minnesota. And the rookie, Nolan Arenado, June, he's hit .319 with a home run and 9 RBIs, and he's flashed some pretty good-looking leather down at third.
And they're going to face the veteran right-hander Mark Burley, and his last 5 starts have been very impressive. His ERA under 2 in those 5 starts, making his 15th start of the year. He likes to work fast, and he needs to keep the ball down.
Done a great job of keeping the ball in the ballpark over his last 7 starts. There's a first pitch strike, and we are underway. B.J. LeMahieu, the second baseman, he started in game 1 of this series. There's a liner, glove ball, Bonifacio. The defense continues to shine behind this starting staff. Bonifacio has played very well in the field.
Well, when you work quickly and you throw strikes, you keep everybody on their toes. And look at Bonifacio, the reaction he gets on this line drive. It's curving right back to him. And Bonifacio records the first out.
Yeah, the more strikes you throw, the better your defense is, the more strikes you want to throw. It's a snowball effect, and right now the Blue Jays are rolling downhill.
The left fielder, Carlos Gonzalez, steps in, batting second tonight. There's a breaking ball just off the outside edge. Gonzalez hit third last night. He had a double in the 7th inning. He finished up 1 for 4 in that ball game. Inside, it's 2-0. Gonzalez, one of the best players in the National League. He's hit .313 against lefty pitching, like Mark Burley. Ball is ripped into the seats.
He has such a level swing, and he just stays right through that baseball. He can hit the ball as hard to left center field as he can to right center field. Hard to believe that this guy's been traded a couple times.
This ball is driven in the gap in left field. Long run for Rasmus. He's going to get there and makes the catch. 2 down. Well, we talked about how well the defense has played. They've committed just 2 errors over this winning streak. In the outfield is Cabrera, Rasmus, and Bautista left to right. Meister Asturis has played very well all over the infield of late. Kawasaki back at short. Bonifacio has already flashed the leather. Lynn's at first, and Depierre and Celia behind the plate to catch the Gold Glover.
You talk about a guy who's been fielding the ball. This guy right here, Meister Asturis, has been great. He has played second, short, and now third in this series.
Meister has made a nice adjustment, getting more comfortable on this artificial surface. Ball on the strike to Michael Kadire. We had mentioned Kadire. There's a lot of at-bats. He's faced Burley over 100 at-bats in his career. Pulls this one foul.
Yeah, there's no secrets here for Michael Kadire or for Mark Burley. They know each other well. And Kadire is one of those guys that he will try to hunt to get into position to hit a fastball.
Burley makes him reach for that breaking ball away, and Burley's ahead 1-2.
Well, keep an eye on pitch tracks tonight for Mark Burley, where those pitches are. He's got to go in and out, in and out, in and out. Stay out of the middle of the plate.
Changeup bounced in the dirt.
Yeah, unlike Esmil Rogers last night or a Josh Johnson, some of the guys out of the bullpen that throw in the mid-90s, Mark Burley's got to really locate the ball down in the zone, and he's got to keep it off speed, move the runners or move the pitches in and out to be effective. He can't just blow guys away anymore.
Well, you can see he's got Kadire off balance. A couple times in this at bat, Michael Kadire's had to reach for pitches, and that's a good sign.
Down and away. That's what he did so effectively his last time out against Texas.
Cutter up and in. That's a base hit. Kadire gets a 2-out single. That extends his hit streak to 17 straight. That's a career high for Kadire. He's reached in 36 straight games now.
And you can see he worked into a count where he got a mistake pitch up right there, and he just deposited into left field. It's a good fastball hitter. So
with 2 outs, Kadire's at first, and Wilin Rosario is the DH side. He's the regular catcher, getting a night off from behind the plate. He gets jammed and fights it off into center field. Kadire will stop at second. They call him the baby bull for a reason, and right there he shows you his strength.
Yeah, the difference between a ground ball right there and that base hit up the middle is about 1.5 inches up and down. If he could have just lowered that a little bit more, he's going to get it on the bottom half of the bat instead of the upper part of the bat. But Rosario's so strong, he just fights it off. And with 2 outs now, he's got runners on first and second.
Back-to-back singles for Nolan Arenado, the third baseman. Arenado is just 22 years old. Off the glove of Arancibia, and the runners are going to move up. That's a pass ball on Arancibia, his 8th of the season. And 2 runners now in scoring position here in the first.
Isn't it ironic? They get a guy to second base for the first time, and the first pitch is a cross-up. Arancibia expecting something else, and it just glances off his glove. The way he went after that looked like he was expecting a curveball.
Well, here's where Mark Burley's has got to pick up his teammate, and sometimes it's difficult to do, but you understand some situations. You've got to just trust that JP's going to catch every pitch you throw, and if he misses a couple, he misses. You can't do anything about it. Just hope he can roll a ground ball right here.
There's a strike. It's 2-1. Well, Burley got picked up by Bonifacio on the first batter of the game. He took a hit away from DJ LeMahieu with a nice dive and a catch. This is popped in the air. This should end the inning. Cabrera moving over toward the foul line. He catches it, and the inning is over. So Burley picks up JP Arancibia. Juan Nicasio will start for the Rockies. Top of the order: Melky Cabrera, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion. Talking about that pass ball, I'm sure she said, hey, don't worry about it. They didn't score. Blue Jays haven't allowed a run in the first inning since June 7th. Here's the starting lineup for the Blue Jays. Melky Cabrera, top of the order. Bautista, Encarnacion. Adam Lind is the cleanup batter. And then Colby Erasmus against Colorado, a .310 average, plus 7 extra base hits. Arancibia, then Meiser as Stewart. He, too, has hit well against Colorado, a .323 average with a homer and 4 RBIs, and they're set to take on the big right-hander Juan Nicasio.
Juan Nicasio, 26-year-old right-hander. He's 4-2 on the year with a .486 ERA. He has been battling injuries in his young career, and this year he's healthy. He's making his 15th start. Got a good live arm, good hard fastball, and he's got a little bit of a slider.
Take a look at the defense behind Nicasio in the outfield. Carlos Gonzalez has a pair of gold gloves to his credit. Tyler Colvin back in center field. And Michael Kadire with a terrific arm in right. Arenado at third base. Rutledge gets the start at shortstop, filling in for the injured Troy Tulowitzki. DJ LeMahieu's at second. Jordan Pacheco is the first baseman, and former Blue Jay Lovito Alvarez behind the plate.
And we have been talking about this kid all series long, Nolan Arenado. What a fielder at third base. He's been very impressive.
Melky Cabrera, as he has done throughout this recent hot streak, has taken the first pitch for a strike. Jack mentioned Nicasio, big right-hander, has dealt with injuries the last couple of seasons. He's 26 years old. This is his 8th season in the Rockies organization. Cabrera pops this one, and it's going to reach the seats. Nicasio got hit in the head by a comebacker off the bat of Ian Desmond in August of 2011, and actually broke his neck. Another pop-up. What had happened was he got hit in the head, and he was practically unconscious and basically took a header right into the mound and fractured his C1 vertebrae. And that was a frightening injury. He was able to come back from that. But last year he had knee surgery in June. This is a little flare in the left. It's got a chance to get down, but here comes the Gold Glover. Carlos Gonzalez makes a sliding catch first out of the bottom of the first.
A good hustle, good instincts right there by Carlos Gonzalez. He sees that ball's going to hang up a little bit, and he just pours on the coals and gets to it. Great effort.
Gold Glover in 2010 and 2012. He's got 9 outfield assists. One of the best arms in all of baseball. Jose Bautista. He's hit .270 against right-handed pitching this season.
Well, Nicasio throws about 70-75% fastballs, and of those fastballs, he'll probably throw the majority of them in the four-seam fashion. He's just trying to locate it straight, whether it be inside or outside. He has been working on a two-seamer, trying to get that sink, a lot like Esmail Rogers has gotten, but it comes and goes for him, and he's really had trouble the second and third time around the lineup.
Yeah, he's outstanding the first 5 innings of the ball game, and then he just seems to fall apart. Just watching him, that fastball looks pretty straight to me.
Bautista takes his strike. It's 2-2. Now, big league hitters, if they don't have to deal with movement or change of speed, sooner or later they'll figure things out. Here's the 2-2 to Bautista. Off the plate outside. Full count. Edwin Encarnacion on deck. And a big night at the plate last night. Bautista rolls over on it to third. Arenado. Oh, and Jordan Pacheco dropped the ball. It's an error on the first baseman. Throw didn't appear to be in the dirt. Looked like it just clanked off his glove. Let's take another look at it. They may have changed the ruling.
Grabs it. Sets his feet. The ball dies. This will give you a definitive answer right here. Looked like that ball might have bounced.
Yeah, the scorekeeper initially gave the error to the first baseman, but on his second look, he charged Arenado with his second error in this series. His 4th of the season. Bautista at first for Encarnacion.
Well, that just shows you that you start bragging on a kid and telling the whole world how good he is, and he's making 2 errors in one series, but he is going to be a very good defender over the years to come.
He's 22 years old.
Wouldn't you know it? We're just talking about the guy, and he throws one in the dirt.
Made errors in the last 2 games. Encarnacion had an RBI double in the first. Blue Jays scored 4 runs in the first inning last night. Then he hit a 2-run home run in the 5th. Rolls over that and pulls it foul.
Well, he hit a ball off the center field wall his first time up for an RBI. Then Jeff Francis tries to throw one down in a way, leaves it over the middle of the plate, and you can just see how strong he is as he bullies that ball over the wall in left field.
2 balls and a strike. Bautista at first, 1 out. Off the plate outside. It's 3-1. Well, the Blue Jays, we mentioned they scored 4 runs in the first. They got 4 runs on 6 hits off Jeff Francis in the game last night, and they were off and running, never looked back. They love the same thing tonight. Esmil Rogers picked up his 2nd win in this 7-game win streak. He has 2 wins during the streak. Base hit right field. Michael Kadire fields it. Bautista just jogs to second. He's not going to challenge Kadire's arm.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice. And by the 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Edwin Encarnacion hitting his first at bat, and watch the location of this pitch.
Down and away, and he doesn't try and pull it. Watch how he just stays on that ball, the head down, and that bat comes right through the strike zone. That's how you hit an outside fastball right there.
Adam Lind takes a strike. Lind, as we have seen throughout his hot streak, been very patient. His average up to 342. Takes a lot of pitches, wants to get an idea what he's dealing with. Such a different approach at the plate than he's had the last couple of years.
Where he was swinging at everything, now he's swinging at strikes.
Lind has raised his batting average 104 points since May 10th. And you talk about a guy's hitting with confidence.
You know, Adam Lind, Mark Burley, kind of 2 different guys in the month of April. Both of them struggled. Now all of a sudden they're both coming to a different level.
Well, he's taking borderline pitches because he's so quiet at the plate. He sees them so well.
Calmly takes it. I mean, there's not even a flinch at those pitches at the plate. And he talks about that. He talks about trying to keep his head still and not move too much. Just use your hands. When you do that, you see the ball for a little bit longer.
Another hitter count for Adam Lind, 2-1. High and deep to right. Kadire back on the check. Goodbye home run. Adam Lind, a 3-run shot in the first.
Well, you guys have been talking about how quiet he is and how he's seeing the ball, but it all to me starts with his lower body. He's not giving away anything from the belt down to indicate anything for a pitcher on how he wants to, what he's trying to do with it. And that means that he's seeing the ball because he's got no extra movement. But you see those hips rotate right there and the extension out in front, and that's usually not a good sign when you're throwing a baseball.
Home run number 9 for Adam Lind has given the Blue Jays a 3-0 lead. The air got it started. Arenado's air allowed Bautista to reach. Edwin Encarnacion had a single to right. Then the big blow off the bat of Adam Lind.
You know, that's another thing that you were just talking about. The air, the Blue Jays taking advantage of that. Here's Lind once again. Head behind the baseball, hardly any movement at all. And he knows that ball's gone. Earlier in the year when the other teams would make errors, Blue Jays couldn't capitalize on them. Now they're taking advantage of it.
Look, Mark DeRosa's looking at him like, how are you doing that, man? What's going on with you?
You got to understand that that's in a little Jersey accent too, so there's a little humor involved.
What's up with you, Adam?
Oh, it's fun to win.
Kobe Rasmus takes a breaking ball in the dirt.
Well, whatever it is, stay unconscious, right?
Well, I think he's very conscious of what he's doing.
Absolutely.
He's so calm and confident that for the first time in a couple of years, he understands you only need one pitch to hit.
And when you hear a hitter talking about what he's doing right, that's a good thing.
Well, Erasmus caught looking at strike 3. That's the second out of the inning. So that'll bring J.P. Aronseebe to the plate. He homered with 2 outs in the 6th last night.
Just missed a home run his first time up, hit it off the wall. And it came in with that pitch a little bit higher in the strike zone. And he's hit plenty in his career already. He knew that ball was gone.
Aronseebe takes one outside. What is it about starting pitchers in the first inning? What are the challenges they have to deal with?
Well, it's focus more than anything else. You're adjusting from one mound in the bullpen to a different mound on the playing surface. In the bullpen, there's not 20,000 people behind home plate either. So you have just the effect of the whole crowd watching every pitch. And it's just sometimes hard to take that rhythm that you have in the bullpen and have the same rhythm. That's why, for me, I didn't want to overthrow the first couple pitches. I just wanted to try to feel where the catcher was and see if my arm was up or down and where the ball was relative to where I was releasing it. And then I could start throwing a little harder. So you get 7 pitches. And I want to make sure the first 2 were somewhere close to the target. I didn't want to throw it to the backstop. That was kind of embarrassing.
I would imagine. Aronseebe with the count in his favor, 3-1. Off the end of the bat, he squibbed it towards second. LeMahieu in, and the inning is over. But the Blue Jays again score in the first, and it's Adam Lynn's red hot bat that does it. His 9th home run is a 3-1 shot to right. The Blue Jays have given Mark Burley an early lead.
Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
CN Tower right next door to Rogers Center. The roof is wide open on a beautiful night in Toronto. And it got a lot prettier for Mark Burley in the bottom of the first. He got the 3-run home run off the bat of Adam Lind, and he has a 3-0 lead. First baseman Jordan Pacheco starts things off. He's batting 6th in the Rockies lineup. There's a strike. It's 1-1.
Well, we've been looking at things that are different in the month of April compared to the streak that they're going through right now. There's another huge difference. The Jays were giving up multi-run innings early in the year. Now they're the ones that are receiving support.
There's a drive to left field. Melky Cabrera back at the wall, over his head, off the wall. Pacheco is headed to second. He will stop there with a leadoff double. Cabrera reached up for it. Looked like he got close to making a catch, but the ball was over his head, off the wall. 10th double for Pacheco.
Melky has a tough time reading this ball. Does not get a good jump and kind of hesitates going back. By the time he gets there, it's a leap and a whoops.
Looks like
off
he
the wall.
Had to reach back for it. That his route to the ball wasn't that good.
Yeah, he kind of did a little circle pattern there instead of a straight line. And again, we can see those things from our vantage point way up here behind home plate. A lot tougher down the field.
On the ground, Tyler Colvin grounds out, moves the runner up. 1 out. Fans, it's time for our BlackBerry Sneak Peek Stat of the Game, brought to you by the new BlackBerry Z10 and Q10, built to keep you moving.
Every now and then we'll pull up some stats here, and you look at them and you go, what's up with that? Well, what's up with Mark Buehrle throwing more fastballs this year and fewer changeups? You would think in the National League that you would see more fastballs, but since he's come over to the American League, he has thrown more fastballs and fewer changeups. He is also throwing more cutters than he did last year. So as a pitcher, why would you go ahead and do that?
Toriyama goes after the first pitch. Just another ball that's going to be over the head of Melky Cabrera off the wall. Toriyama's going to stop at first. The run comes in to score. As the Rockies are on the board, it's now a 3-1 Blue Jays lead.
Well, one of the reasons I think Mark Buehrle, he just likes to get ahead in the count, and a lot of those first pitches are fastballs. That one right there is the breaking ball that kind of stayed up.
Looked like a cutter that was up, and that went right into the swing of Toriyama. I hope he holds him to a single.
Shortstop Josh Rutledge takes the first pitch strike. Rutledge started second base last night. He was also the leadoff hitter. Went 0 for 4 in that ballgame with a strikeout. Drops down to the 9th spot tonight. Waves at that off-speed pitch. He's behind 0-2.
Back to that stat there with fastballs and changeup. I, for one, believe that you cannot throw a good changeup until you have a good fastball. Until you locate your fastball, it's going to be very, very difficult to locate a changeup. And why give him something soft to hit if you're struggling with both?
Does the fact that maybe he was falling behind early this season, he wasn't throwing strikes with his fastball.
Right. It was a lot of them were up in the zone.
So maybe he had to throw more to try to establish it because he wasn't throwing it for a strike.
Rutledge strikes out.
There's the changeup there.
First strikeout of the night for Mark Buehrle. Second out of the inning.
Good changeup right there. You can see it just feather right off of his fingertips, and he throws it like a fastball. Rutledge fooled.
Bottom drops out of it right there at home plate.
DJ LeMahieu goes after the first pitch. Looks like the Rockies have made up their mind they're going to be aggressive early in their at-bats.
Well, they're getting balls up. Right now, Mark Buehrle's making mistakes up in the zone. He needs to get the ball down around the knees to have more success with ground balls.
Missed low with that one. Well, Buehrle's been on this great run over his last 7 starts. He's been phenomenal. He's 2-1 with a 1.91 ERA over his last 5 starts. But the one thing he has really done a good job of is keeping the ball in the ballpark. There's a base hit for LeMahieu into right. Toriyama stops at second. He's hit the ball hard twice so far tonight. Has 1 hit.
Robbed his first time up. It looked like another cutter. Buehrle gets it. See, that is right into the swing path right there of that right hitter in Texas. And Mark was so good. He kept the ball down, and he kept the ball in the corners. Right now, he's hit the middle of the plate too much.
The Rockies already have 5 hits in this game tonight. They had 9 in the first 2 games. Carlos Gonzalez. He gets jammed, and Kawasaki waits on it. Got a tricky hop, but stayed with it. So Buehrle gets out of it. The Rockies leave 2 more on. They've stranded 4 so far in this game. The Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. FIFA Confederations Cup. It's a highly anticipated tune-up event for next year's World Cup. Tomorrow, Sportsnet World has Spain, Tahiti, followed by Nigeria, Uruguay. Visit sportsnet.ca/world for details on how to subscribe. Great soccer action. It's going to be a couple of big years for soccer, and Sportsnet will be there and bring you all the action. Meiser Asturias will start things off for the Blue Jays, and last night he and Aaron Sebe went back-to-back in the 6th.
First time that the Blue Jays have gone back-to-back this year. This is his first home run also from the right side. Just enough to get it over the wall for the home run. He has been swinging the bat much better over his last 8 games, over .330 batting average with a little pop.
Meiser Asturias signed a 3-year contract with the Blue Jays, and the first part of the season was a bit rough for him. He's 32 years old, and he signed from the Angels. Blue Jays liked what they saw as a super utility player. They could play all the infield positions and play them well. There's a pitch down low. Asturias, in a conversation we had with him, talked about how things have gotten a little more comfortable with him, especially in the field. Playing on artificial surface for the first time in your career as your home ballpark, it's a challenge.
I think he was shocked in the month of April, the way the ball got to you a little bit quicker. And the bounces, there aren't too many true bounces on this turf.
Two and one. There's a strike. Well, when you think about it, as a visiting player, you can come in here for a 3-game series, play maybe 2 or 3 games, and might not get a ball to handle. So you really don't have a good gauge for how quick the field is. That's a little dribbler up the line, but foul.
No, the other thing is in spring training, they're all grass fields. You know, Tropicana Field down in St. Petersburg and right here at Rogers Center are the only 2 artificial surfaces in the game now, and so you're coming over, and it took him a while. He admitted that it took him a while to kind of catch up with the speed of the ball.
Stays alive, fouls that out of play. When you think about it, the positioning is different as well. You're going to play a little bit deeper here because the ball travels that quick, much quicker, so you have a little more time. Bonifacio had the same problem. He had a 3-air game, one of the first games he played right here at Rogers Center. Hit hard, but right to second base. LeMahieu goes to first. 1 down. Fans, if you want your baseball questions answered by our team of experts, email asktheexperts@sportsnet.ca. And keep your eye out for the home hardware Ask the Experts segment later on in the game. 1 out. Second baseman Emilio Bonifacio will bat. He is in the 8th spot tonight. Bonifacio hit 9th in last night's game and went 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Bonifacio is playing just about every day. If he doesn't start, he generally comes in defensively in left field, taking over for Melky Cabrera.
I think before the end of the season, he's going to be a very valuable player for this team. Melky's not moving too well out in the outfield, and you can bring him in to play defense. He's got a little pop. He's starting to play a better second base for him. And he can steal you a base. If he doesn't start, he can come in and pinch run for you.
That's where the real value is in Emilio, is just to get him on base. You know, if he can loop one down the line, you know he can get to second easily. He's going to go right from the box and bust it out to second base. Nothing prettier than watching him go for a triple. And he can steal bases.
This is trouble. There's the extra base hit. He's around first, headed for second. Kadire plays it perfectly off the wall, and Bonifacio will stop at second with his 12th double of the season.
I appreciate him getting that hit right after I kind of told everybody how to run those bases. That away, Emilio.
You said loop it down the line. That was a seed down the line. Breaking ball down and in.
He just needed the double because Kadyr's in right field. He might not have got the triples.
That's how you hit a ball that's down and in. Drop the barrel of that on that ball. And hit it hard. Kadyr, like you said, plays it with the bare hand. He knows how fast Bonifacio is.
Well, and he's a guy that you know that if you can get any kind of decent base hit, he's going to score from second base.
Kawasaki, the number 9 hitter, goes after the first pitch and fouls it into the glove. Munenori not starting the first 2 games of this series. In fact, he didn't start a game, hasn't started since Saturday down in Texas. Fouls it into the seats. Of course, Kawasaki is well aware that Jose Reyes isn't that far away from rejoining this ball club. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the roster spot. Kawasaki has done a great job filling in for Reyes. He has become one of the most popular members of the ball club in that clubhouse, and he's become a fan favorite.
Oh, the fans love him. They announce his name and they cheer wildly.
Kawasaki hits it to left, but Gonzalez is there, and that's the second out of the inning. To give you an idea about Jose Reyes, he played this afternoon in Dunedin in the Florida State League and played in the field. He had 2 more hits in 4 at-bats, had another stolen base, and he is 5 for his last 12 at-bats over 3 days. The one big thing is that he's healthy. He was the DH in yesterday's game. He got 5 at-bats and 1 hit, but he's going to be back before you know it.
And he's getting on a plane tomorrow.
Yep, he's going up to Buffalo to play. They want to play 9 innings up there, and they're going to kind of evaluate how a weekend goes. He may join the team as soon as they go down to Tampa, or otherwise it might be in Boston.
Well, the big thing is he's got to get out and play 9 innings.
Right.
And I'd like to see him play 9 innings back to back. And I think that's what Gibby meant by we'll evaluate him over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. But he's going to be in Buffalo to play for the Bisons.
That'll be Thursday night down in Buffalo. Melky Cabrera takes ball 2 outside. Well, I can tell you one thing. The Blue Jays are going to head into a stretch against AL East teams, and they're going to want Reyes in the lineup.
No question. You know, and going back to Munenori Kawasaki and you know what he means to this team, it's a tough call for the organization. These are the tough ones you're going to have. You want Reyes back. Obviously, he's an all-star that brings a whole new meaning to shortstop. But the way the team is playing, you know, you're on a run right now, and things are really gelling, and that chemistry is a big part of that. And Munenori, I think, epitomizes what team chemistry is. Everybody loves him.
This is the first time this has looked like a team all year long.
Yeah.
Every aspect of play is clicking on all cylinders. I am not suggesting by any means that Reyes won't come up and play. He's got to play. As soon as he gets healthy, he's going to be the shortstop and the leadoff hitter.
Yep.
But the question is, you keep Kawasaki back as the backup shortstop. Do you need 4 guys on the bench? Do you weaken your bullpen, which is really a strong suit right now?
Yeah, and you mentioned going in to play some of those American League East teams who like to jack up the pitch counts, and you're pitching in tough ballparks. Maybe you want to keep 8 relievers.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bonifacio at second base. There's a drive into center. Colvin back makes the catch, and the Blue Jays will strand the base runner. We've played 2 here at Rogers Center. Mark Burley and the Jays have a 3-1 lead. our military heroes help determine which military hero will represent the Blue Jays at the 2013 MLB All-Star Game in New York. Tonight we profile James Story of Calgary, Alberta. James served in the Canadian Armed Forces for almost 25 years. He's received a peacekeeping medal for tours in both Bosnia and Yugoslavia. The voting ends June 30th, so fans, make sure you vote at BlueJays.com. It's a great program and certainly an opportunity to pay tribute to some of our heroes. So log on to BlueJays.com and vote. Michael Kadire had a single his first time up. This time he bounces it to short. Kawasaki right on the money. Mark Burley, like so many of his teammates, got off to a slow start. When you look at his numbers in April, ERA over 6 and WHIP over 1.5, but it's gotten better and better each month.
ERA's going down, the WHIP's going down. A good WHIP is 1. And that's 1 base runner per inning. Then it all evens out. 1.5 isn't good. 1.2 is not very good, but it keeps going down. And he's keeping the ball in the ballpark. In fact, the whole pitching staff's keeping the ball in the ballpark.
The Blue Jays have done a great job. Burley gave up 11 home runs in his first 7 games. The starting pitching has really taken the lead in this win streak.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, they haven't allowed a first inning run since June 7th. And that was an early problem. They were behind before you came to the plate.
Yeah. Too many times in the first 3 innings there were big crooked numbers. Those 4s, 5s, and 6s that just killed them.
And it put the pressure on the offense. It put the pressure on John Gibbons where he couldn't
takes
relax.
the running game away.
Takes the running game, the hit and run, all of that. And it just slowed him down. Not having that problem now. 54 consecutive innings without giving up a home run. That's impressive. Wait, you think he's going to give one up right here? I say no way.
We're not superstitious up here, so.
Not at all. Willeen Rosario is the DH tonight. He muscled a single into center field his first time up. Takes a 1-out walk. Burley walks Rosario. That's the first walk. You see the starters in the last 6 starts. They're 5-0 with an ERA under 1. And we always talk about wins for starting pitchers, how important it is to your chances to win. The Blue Jays now have 18 wins from their starter. That's the fewest in the American League, but they're getting better last time through the rotation.
Matters hitting under 200 against the starters also.
You know, the one thing I just want to try to keep it in perspective with is, will they have this same kind of success next week? We have 10 straight games the Blue Jays have coming up on Monday with the American League East, their own division. And that may.
Friday.
Yeah, excuse me. That's right. Friday.
Baltimore comes
in.
Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Boston.
Nolan Arenado fouls it into the seats, and that is the test. Blue Jays are just 12-20 against the AL East, and you've got to improve that number. If you can't beat your division, you're not going to go anywhere.
You know, I think they just ran into a team in Texas that was, I think, admittedly flat. They weren't playing the kind of ball they did, and that's great. They won the games. They needed to do that. And Colorado here, the first 2 games, and that also is great. Now they have this momentum. They have a little bit of feel for what it's like, and I think that's all good going into that the interdivision games.
Now here are the next 5 series at Baltimore. Baltimore's here, then you go to Tampa Bay and Boston, and Detroit and Minnesota come to Rogers Center. So you're looking at a tough stretch, and right now Boston's got concerns. They got Clay Buchholz on the disabled list, and Tampa Bay certainly is beat up. They lost Alex Cobb and David Price to the disabled list. There's another liner. Bonifacio jumps, timed it perfectly. 2 big plays by Bonifacio, and Burley saying, just keep it up, Boney. You're doing just fine.
You know, I'm telling you.
What you can't see, folks, is that Buck jumped up in the air, too. He's helping Boney catch that ball.
He is an athlete with a tremendous vertical right there. That takes another hit away from the Rockies. Look how high he is to go up there. Rob Arenado.
2 outs. That's another hang with him. Bonifacio already has 2 stars in the book tonight. Jordan Pacheco has a double. He scored the first Rockies run, the only run they have scored in the second. He missed up and away, and he's been up more tonight than he has been in his last several starts.
It's just that release point. He's struggling a little bit with his breaking ball, trying to find that release point. His body's out in front a little bit, and his arm's dragging a little bit.
Can he find that?
Oh, yeah. And I'm pretty sure he will. You just got to stay with it. And Mark Burley's, I mean, if we have a veteran inning guy on this team, it's Mark Burley. And, you know, over the years, he's proven that early rough innings, he can get deeper into the game.
Missed downstairs with that pitch. Well, you're right. He knows himself, and that's why he looks quickly. I think he likes the repetition and get back in there and try to make the adjustments from pitch to pitch.
Well, that is exactly why he likes to work fast. It's easier for him to feel those just micro adjustments that he has to make. And the longer you take between pitches, the harder it is on your brain to try to calculate those things.
That's why I hate those pitchers who walk around the mound and they rub up the ball and they look up into the stands. It's tough to repeat your delivery when you're doing it every 2 minutes.
Full count, 2 outs. The runner is on the move, and Pacheco strikes out. The changeup got it. Burley has 2 strikeouts tonight. Bottom of the third, it'll be Jose Bautista to start things off. He's scored already. Edwin Encarnacion has a single. Adam Lind, a 3-run homer. Canada. Edmonton, Alberta is the site. July 28th, 29th, and 30th at Airport Palace Field. The instructors include Otto Velez, Cecil Fielder, Jesse Barfield, Lloyd Mosby, and Dwayne Ward. Visit BlueJays.com/Baseball Academy for more information. The Toronto Blue Jays are proud supporters of amateur baseball across Canada. Super camps have been very popular, and why not when you get the likes of Otto Velez, Cecil Fielder, Jesse Barfield, and Lloyd Mosby. A lot of experience and a lot of baseball knowledge at those super camps, so make sure you check them out.
One thing for sure, the instructors are going to have a good time together.
They usually do, don't they?
A little bit of a mini reunion. Bonifacio and his Sturs are having a good time lately. Both of them playing very well. Jose Bautista will start things off. He reached on an error and scored in the first. Blue Jays have really taken advantage of their opportunities during this win streak. Jose Bautista may be responsible for the 7-game win streak. Blue Jays were down to their final strike, losing the ball game in Chicago when Bautista hit a 2-strike, 2-out home run. to tie it at 5-5, and the Blue Jays would win it into 10th.
You know what that can do to a ball club when it looks like certain defeat and you're on the road and a guy steps up and homers, and it's almost like you have a second chance, second life, and they've made the most of it.
2-0, way outside.
And from the other side, we also know what it's like when you are on the losing end of those kind of games. It just takes the wind right out of your sails and takes you a little while to regroup after that.
3-0. Yeah, the closer Addison Reed was in the game, and Bautista looked like he was going to go down, but then Reed gave him a pitch and he knocked it out of the yard. There's a base hit for Bautista. Leadoff single here in the third. With a man on and nobody out, let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got an update. We mentioned that the Blue Jays had 18 wins from their starters. How about the Dodgers with only 17 wins from their starting staff? I mean, that just doesn't seem like it fits. Dodgers and 17 wins from their starters.
You would think Clayton Kershaw would have at least 8 or 9 himself.
This could be 2. LeMahieu, Rutledge back to first. It is a double play. Nicasio jammed Encarnacion, and the middle infielders took care of it. So that erases that leadoff single, and that'll bring Adam Lind to the plate with 2 outs and nobody on.
One more point about that pitching. Remember in spring training when the Dodgers had 8 starters, and they're like, what are we going to do with all this starting pitching? How many wins do they have?
17.
17, and it's the middle of June.
And they traded Aaron Harang to Seattle. They just moved guys around. Some guys got hurt. Greinke went on the DL with a broken collarbone. Lily's been hurt. Kershaw really hasn't torn it up.
No, not the way he typically can. He's got a good ERA, but he's just not getting a lot of runs to work with.
And is a little bit late on that pitch and quickly behind 0-2. After he hit the home run in the first inning, his teammates are saying, man, who is this guy? I've not seen this guy before. He is red hot.
Well, I think Mark DeRosa's covering up right there because he's so hot. He's like the sun. He doesn't want to burn his eyes because he's so hot. Doesn't even want to look at him.
Yeah, I can't even look at you. You're so hot.
So hot, his hair's on fire. Oh, he's just a redhead, I guess.
1-2. Strike 3 call. In caught looking, and Nicasio has a bounce back inning. He gives up a leadoff single and nothing more. We'll go to the 4th. Mark Burley has a 3-1 lead. Tomorrow night, Tampa Bay will be at Yankee Stadium to take on the New York Yankees. It all starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on Sportsnet Pacific and Ontario. The Rays at the Yankees tomorrow night. The Roundhouse, just a few steps away from Rogers Center. Great stop on the tour of this area in Toronto. Mark Bailey. This is with that first pitch to Tyler Colvin. Center fielder grounded out to second his first time up. Mark Burley has stranded 2, actually stranded 3. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and 1 in the third. He's got 5 left on base so far.
And you can see by those 3 pitches there that he's starting to get a better feel for the ball down. Doing a good job of taking something off every once in a while with that changeup.
Two balls and 2 strikes, the leadoff man here in the fourth.
And he's not afraid to throw that changeup to left-handers. It's like De La Rosa the other day throwing a splitty to the left-handed batters, and he was very successful against the Jays.
There's another off-speed pitch pulled foul. That is something that has changed over the last couple of years, where lefties will throw changeups to lefties. For a long time, I could never understand. If it was one of your better pitches, why would you not throw it?
To me, it's just always a great pitch, no matter who's throwing it and what side. You just got to throw it down and away. You don't want the changeup left middle half in.
He just missed away with that pitch.
I think they were just afraid of the balls down and into left-handers. It's a great pitch for lefties to pull for extra bases.
Pretty good pitch spoiled right there, and you can see Burley starting to get his aim down pretty good. Everything is bunched up, down and away. Oh, he's driven into center. Rasmus jogs back. He's in front of the warning track and makes the catch. 1 down.
Come find out why more Canadians trust Mr. Lube's trained technicians with their oil changes than any other quick lube. We're #1 for a reason. Take good care.
After this half inning, we're going to be joined by a very special guest here in the booth. The rookie quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, E.J. Manuel, would join us. So make sure you come back to the next half inning. Gervit Torrealba takes the first pitch strike. Torrealba had an RBI single his first time up, drove in the Rockies' run in the second.
This is the guy who thought I was a pitcher last year. Remember that, Buck?
I wasn't going to tell anybody that.
We asked him if I played, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, you look like you could play." And I said, "Well, what position?" "Pitcher."
Looked like a pitcher.
Well, at least he didn't say catcher.
You probably pitched at some point.
Nope.
Never?
Never.
Not when you're
4 innings in high school. That was it.
Youngster?
4 innings.
There you go.
School.
See,
that's
so you
it.
pitched. That qualifies. You pitched.
4 innings?
Yeah.
That doesn't qualify.
Shoot, Dan Gladden pitched one in the big leagues. He still talks about it.
Breaking ball downstairs. It's 2-2.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have to look it up, but I think Michael Kadire has pitched an inning for the Twins also.
This year.
This year, too.
He pitched an inning this year, yeah. And it's not that hard.
I wish I could have pitched.
I pitched an inning.
You pitched an inning, too?
Oh, yeah. Piece of cake. Anybody can do it.
How did you do that? I kept begging the umpire, or excuse me, the manager, to let me pitch, and they never would let me pitch.
We had position players pitch 4 innings in one game.
In Milwaukee?
Yep. Sal Bando pitched 2, Jim Gantner pitched 1, and I pitched the 8th.
Oh, how'd you do?
What was the score of that game, Buck?
It was about 15-3 after 4. Torrealba pulls it foul outside of third. I did great. I'd have been out of the inning if Banda would have turned a double play.
There it is. Somebody else's
See, now you're starting to think like a pitcher.
I wanted to break out my knuckleball.
Oh, I threw everything. 2-2, 1 out. Sal Bando pitched the first inning, and when he came back for the second inning, he looked like a used McDonald's French fry bag. He had grease everywhere. Full count, 1 out. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead here in the top of the fourth. Torrealba beats it on the ground. Historis has got some time. Not in time. Torrealba hustled it out and beat the throw. That was a little chopper that Torrealba beat the throw at first. A 1-out infield single.
I think everybody was expecting this to be an out at first base, simply because it's the guy who's running. It's the catcher. But Torrealba gets down there.
Yeah, he got down the line good.
Historis does everything correctly. Nothing you can do about that. Just that slider down low, and look at that. That's pretty good. Beats it out, gets himself a hit.
Josh Rutledge lines it to Historis, and the infield continues to sparkle behind Burley.
You know, when you're not used to playing third base, that ball can really hook on you from a right-hander. Watch him track this ball and then look into his glove to make sure he has it, because that ball was really hooking on him hard.
Yeah, almost squirted out of the webbing there. Put his right hand on top of it.
Back to the top of the order. Burley takes something off and gets ahead of DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu's hit the ball hard twice. He lined out to the second baseman in his first at bat, and he singled to right in his second.
Yeah, they've been trying to get him out inside. He's got a good inside out swing.
Burley, that golden glove works perfectly as he ends the inning. We're going to talk a little football when we come back to Rogers Center. The Bills quarterback E.J. Manuel will join us in the booth. Rogers Center. Atlanta takes on Buffalo here December 1st. Check out the BillsInToronto.com or Ticketmaster.ca to buy your tickets, or check out more information. And with that, we're very pleased to be joined by the rookie quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, E.J. Manuel. Congratulations on being the first quarterback picked in this past draft.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
You are making a mad transition from college football to Buffalo. How quickly do you get immersed into the college scene?
Right. Well, it was a very quick, emergence right into the pros. Exactly. So, I love the process. As far as the pre-draft and things like that, it was a lot of hard work. But once my name was called, it was right back to work.
First quarterback, only quarterback taken in the first round. Talk about your experience at Florida State and how that prepared you, because you got a big opportunity as a freshman down at Florida State.
Definitely. I played in a lot of high-pressure situations and, situations where we had to win. And if we didn't win, we wouldn't make the bowl games, and we've had a long, streak of that. So, I was reluctant enough to be the quarterback during that time and helped us, kind of will our team to a win along with my other teammates.
You came from a great program in Florida State, great football program, and you've gone through OTAs and you've gone through minicamp.
Right.
Tell us the difference between Florida State and the NFL.
Well, obviously the NFL is the NFL. This is the best of the best from, every walk of life in football. And, these guys don't make mistakes. And, the team, we have a great morale out there. I really feel a part of the team being a young guy. And I know a lot of the rookies, we feel the same way. I think we really appreciate that love and respect from our, our veterans.
Is the game faster?
Most definitely. I think the game is definitely faster. Guys are bigger, stronger. But I think, like I said, everybody is smart. Nobody makes a lot of mistakes and things like that. So, that's the main thing for me as a quarterback. You want to limit your mistakes as much as possible.
For years, it was thought that quarterbacks needed to sit on the bench and watch the game. That seems to have changed. Are you open to the fact you might get a chance to play right out of the chute?
Most definitely open to that, and I'm really looking forward to continue to learn and continue to work hard, even when, we're not necessarily doing a mini camp or OTAs, still get that work in just like you were if you were practicing. So I try to take every day and every rep as hard as possible.
I was a catcher when I played. I have about 5 signs to call.
Okay.
How many do you have in the Bills playbook?
A little more than 5, but I think it's the same for you. With reps and things like that, you get better at it, and it's all about confidence as well. The more reps you get, the more at bats you will get in baseball. The more confident you'll get. Standing right there in that, in front of that mound.
I watched some tape of you. See, that's a little football thing. I watched some tape of you today. And I saw you throw, and you got great mechanics as a passer. What's your best attribute, I think, as a football player?
I think as a football player, it's not necessarily the physical. I think it's more of the intangible things as far as being a leader. And a lot of people say that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but I think it's, it hits home when you have your guys around you all the time, and you want guys to play up to your level. And obviously, if you're trying to get guys to play to your level, you have to raise your level as well. So I think leadership is a big thing for me.
Tell us about the Bills. They have a new coach this year, right?
Yep. Coach Marone's did a great job. Since the first day I met him when they came down to Tallahassee to work me out, I've loved the guy since. And he and I meet all the time and talk one-on-one and things like that. And he's giving me a lot of advice moving forward, not just as a coach but also as an ex-player too.
Just a reminder: the Buffalo Bills will take on the Atlanta Falcons right here at Rogers Center on December 1st, and we're joined in the booth by E.J. Manuel. And E.J., you grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and seems to be a lot of athletes there. Michael Kadyr's from that same area. The Uptons are from there. David Wright. What is it about that area that produced so many great athletes?
Man, I don't know. I wish I could put a finger on what it is, but I just think the competition level is so high at a young age that a lot of us, either you make it or you don't. And if you can kind of make it in that area, make it to the college or make it to the MLB, you have a chance to make it to the pros.
What about the process for you now before you go back to camp? What are you going to do on a regular basis? How frequently do you work out on your football skills?
Yeah, well, that's an everyday thing, for me as well as my teammates. We're professionals now, so this is pretty much all we do. And, I think it's obviously your responsibility to be ready when you come back to training camp. So what I'll be doing is we have some more work to do in Buffalo, but I'll get some time to go home, maybe 3 weeks, and then be right back in Buffalo getting ready for training camp.
Well, I know football's not all you do. We saw you take batting practice this afternoon. We're going to check that out in a minute. We got some video.
Oh, man.
They were all over that today on you guys.
Good.
Ball on the strike to J.P. Aaron Sabia. Colby Rasmus with the leadoff walk. The Blue Jays lead it 3-1. And we are talking a little football here with the Bills' new quarterback, E.J. Manuel. And the Bills will play the Atlanta Falcons right here at Rogers Center on December 1st. And some of your teammates came along with you to get involved.
Definitely.
Who was with you this afternoon?
We got Robert Woods, Marquise Goodwin, Jeff Toole, another quarterback. Coughlin, another receiver. Dustin Hopkins, a fellow Florida State guy who's also a kicker for us, and a couple of our lineman guys are out here too. So we've had a great time. I think this is huge for us as far as team bonding, getting a chance to be around each other, and then also giving us an opportunity to see the Rogers Center before we could actually come here and play.
You guys had a great draft this year. I follow that kind of stuff. I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know if you play them this year.
Right.
But you guys had a very good draft. Can you tell us about some of the other new players on the Bills?
Well, definitely. Just going to my receivers first off, Marquise and Robert, they've done a great job. And I actually told Robert when we were at a different team visiting them before the draft, and I said, man, if I could have one of you at FSU, man, that would have been good. I had great receivers there, but I think Robert is outstanding, and same with Marquise. Lightning fast. Both those guys have great hands. Chris Gregg, tight end, has done a great job. All the safeties, Duke Williams and John Meeks, all those guys done a great job, and there's even more guys. So, everybody's, done a great job in, rookie mini camps, OTAs, and things like that.
When you think about the transition, and it must be, I mean, you try to play it down, but I mean, my goodness, the professional offense must be very involved. Is it that much more complicated than what you had at Florida State?
Yeah, well, the thing about it, you just have to try to learn something within that offense each and every day. Never think that, oh, I know the whole thing, because you don't. You haven't had live reps in the game. You haven't played, under pressure type situations. Practice is one thing, but it's another thing to play in the game. So understanding that, you just got to keep working at it each and every day.
How many hours a day do you have to study your playbook?
Man.
Just roughly.
Well, I would say roughly, just straight up studying, I would say at least 3 or 4 hours.
Every day?
Every day. Yes,
really?
sir. Yes, sir. And I think, like I said, with reps as far as physical or mental reps, all those things help. And like I said, you're a professional now, so this is all you have to do.
Okay, without giving away any Buffalo Bills secrets, we're in a huddle right now.
Don't get me in trouble right now.
No, we won't get you in trouble. But call a play right now. Tell me what it's like to sit in a huddle and listen to an NFL quarterback call a play.
Well, for us, let's see.
Don't give any away
exactly.
secrets.
That's what I'm thinking, man. We give away some stuff. I'm not going to say an actual play, but I will say it's very.
Give us one of your Florida State plays.
Okay. Yeah,
there you go. That's a good one.
Well, a Florida State play would be something like Twins '94 Cat Volunteer. We didn't really have. Then when it would get crazy when you start giving tags. So H swing, X wrap, Y, curl, something like that, things like that. So.
And everybody knows where they're going.
Everybody knows where they're going. Yes, sir. Yes,
that
sir.
was one play?
Well, one play, yep.
Okay, now let me ask you
8
this.
phrases.
You didn't have communication in college, did you?
No, sir.
So how's that going to affect you during the NFL games?
I like it, actually. Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot more because now you don't necessarily have to read a signal or anything like that. And, you can get the play call in as soon as, a play ends. And I do like that. I love that part, actually.
So have you heard yet the coach say, EJ, are you kidding me with that?
But as far as a mistake?
No, saying something in your headset.
Nah, usually Coach Hackett does a great job just moving on to the next play. So whether it's a good or a bad one, he just wants you to snap back and move on right to the next one because we try to get in as many plays as we can in practice. So he doesn't necessarily dwell on anything bad.
I wish I had that with my catchers when I managed.
Right.
Tell them what to call.
Yeah.
Tell them what pitch to call.
It is an advantage, definitely. I love it.
You have a new offensive coordinator?
Yes, sir.
How's that going?
He's done a great job, as a player. As a young guy, he's done a great job, and he's really taught me a lot. And when I'm doing that studying for 3 or 4 hours, I'm with him the whole time. So, having that one-on-one, hands-on work with Coach Hack has done a great job for me.
Wow. Historis reaches on the air, and we want to make sure that we check out EJ's swing. So now, break this swing down for me. What was it like to get back in the batter's box again?
It was fun, actually. I think this is my second time hitting with an actual wooden bat, so that was a little different right there. Having some problems, but I did have a good time, man. Being out there on the field, throwing it around with the guys, it was a lot of fun.
Now, that reminds me of a quarterback story.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, look, after a while, I started sidearming a little bit, but I don't want to get back to Buffalo sidearming the football, so I need to stick with what I do. Exactly.
Don't hurt your elbow.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Did you play baseball when you were younger?
A little bit. I played up until I was in the 8th grade, and, from that point on, I just did basketball and football in high school, so I did play a little bit, yes, sir.
Blue Jays take advantage of an error by the second baseman. It's first and third with just one out, and we are joined in the booth by EJ Manuel, the new quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Is going to be anxious to start his first season and go to camp. You guys open up with the Colts, I believe, in preseason?
Yes, sir.
That's got to be fun for you. I'm thinking about strapping it on for the first time in the NFL.
Most definitely. Having the first preseason game as a young guy. Definitely be a game we want. I know personally I want to remember and go out there and get a win.
You had a teammate in Florida State that was from Toronto, right?
Not from Toronto, I don't think. We had Bjorn Werner. He was from Germany. I don't think we had anybody on the team from Toronto, though.
I thought there was a fullback from Toronto that played at Florida State. Maybe it's this year's class.
Right. He may be going there now. Yes, sir.
You get to match up with Andrew Luck.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
First game?
Yep.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
On the ground. Rutledge to second for one. Back to first. Not in time. The Blue Jays score a run. Rasmus comes in to score. Bonifacio's speed gets him an RBI.
Well, the shortstop, Josh Rutledge, really stayed back on that ball. With that type of speed from Bonifacio, you got to charge the ball. Watch him on this carpet. Right at him. And now he stayed back and made it a little bit slower to develop, and Bonifacio picks up an RBI.
You could see he's tentative, not really knowing what that ball's going to do on this artificial surface, and that cost him. Filling in for the injured Troy Tulowitzki, Bonifacio picks up the RBI. It's 4-1 Jays. Munenori Kawasaki.
Well, tell us what you think about Toronto.
Oh man, beautiful city.
First time here?
Yes, sir. Yep, getting a chance to come out and see the CN Tower. You can see it from miles away, and actually seeing it on TV is another thing. But when you're actually getting a chance to go up at the top of it and ride the elevator, it was really exciting for us.
Did you go up there?
Yep, we did. We had a chance to go do that, and coming to Rogers Center was obviously nice, and just walk around the city a little bit. It was a beautiful place.
Did you walk around outside?
No.
Buck and I did that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We did that last year.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you
kind of a bucket list type thing. Huh? Yeah, exactly.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think my coaches or anybody want me to do that.
I don't think anybody wants you to do that. Bonifacio with the delay steal, and he executes it perfectly. He caught the infielders flat-footed. DJ LeMahieu didn't break, as he didn't expect Bonifacio to steal, but that delay steal, he is a master at it.
You can just see that develop. 3 quick hops, and then you take off right before that ball gets to the catcher. Maybe you catch one of those middle infielders, 1, 2, 3, and then you're off. A little bit late getting to the bag, and he picks up his 9th stolen base of the season.
Kawasaki fights it off. Just a reminder, we are joined in the booth by the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, E.J. Manuel, and the Falcons will be here at Rogers Center to take on the Buffalo Bills December 1st. You can check out the ticket situation at billsintoronto.com or log on to the Ticketmaster site, ticketmaster.ca. Pick up your tickets for NFL football right here at Rogers Center December 1st.
Training camp is right around the corner, right? 6 weeks?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
First one?
Yep, first training camp, and we're looking forward to it.
You taking your golf clubs?
To training camp?
That's a joke.
I don't think so.
We take our golf clubs.
It must be nice. Must be nice. No, I don't think we'll have any time for golf. So
that's the one big difference. Football and baseball.
Exactly.
Well, EJ, we want to thank you so much.
Yes,
appreciate you stopping by, and it was great to see you and your teammates here at the ballpark today, and all the best, man.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck
Thanks
to you.
a lot. Really appreciate it.
We'll be keeping an eye on you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm a new Bill fan because of you.
Yes,
all right.
Thanks a lot.
All the best.
All right, appreciate
all the
it.
best.
That's E.J. Manuel, the new quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. He is going to go to his first NFL training camp, and the Bills will be here at Rogers Center December 1st. Blue Jays have scored a run here in the bottom of the 4th. They've taken a 4-1 lead. Emilio Bonifacio is at second base. Munenori Kawasaki behind 0-2. Stays alive.
Pesky. He is a pesky hitter.
Mark Burley spending a lot of time on the bench. It's Brian King, the strength coach of the Blue Jays, talking with Burley. I'm sure Burley doesn't mind spending the time on the bench as long as they keep scoring him runs. Oh, another tough pitch. He stays alive. Jack, good to have you back.
Well, I figured, pitcher, quarterback, it's kind of all the same.
It's all the same, that's for sure. Both big guys, that's for sure.
He's a big dude.
Nice young man, isn't he?
Yep. Those are the kind of guys that you cheer for. And you wish, hey, I'm serious. I'm going to have to watch the Bills now play because we got to meet the guy.
Yeah, it's always more fun when you know somebody in the sport.
Kawasaki went back and got Pine Tar, and Chris Guccione, umpire. Not really concerned about that, as the catcher, Yorvit Torrealba, went out to talk to his pitcher. Another 0-2 pitch to Kawasaki. Down low.
Boy, they have really worked over Juan Nicasio here. He is up to 83 pitches, and we're only in the 4th inning. Colorado, he really used that 100-pitch limit for their starters. So the Blue Jays are going to get into their bullpen early tonight.
Strike 3 call. Kawasaki didn't like the call, but it's the 3rd out of the inning. The Blue Jays have added a run. They take a 4-1 lead as we head to the 5th. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. Baseball partnership may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Somebody lost a bet. Okay, I'll dress up like the rest of you. How about that? You ever have that kind of thought? Say, why don't we get dressed up in a rabbit suit and go to a ball game? No, I didn't. I don't even answer that.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask.
5th inning. Number 2 hitter Carlos Gonzalez has gone 0 for 2 so far. Gonzalez was the National League Player of the Week last week. Against the Blue Jays, he came into this ballgame with a .343 career average, 2 doubles, pair of home runs against the Jays. There's a high drive deep to right, and that ball is gone. Carlos Gonzalez has just hit his 3rd career home run against the Blue Jays, his 6th home run of the season against lefty pitching, and his 21st of the season.
He had a 3-homer game against the Cincinnati Reds earlier this year, and you can see why after that swing against Mark Burley. 2-0 sitting on a heater. And it's such a level swing. The timing is perfect, and watch how short this swing is, right to the ball and through it.
That's the first home run the Blue Jays have allowed in 6 games. And I guess it's not as bad when you give it up to the leading home run hitter in the National League, but Blue Jays have done a great job of keeping the ball in the ballpark.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's a solo home run with a 3-run lead, so you're wanting to challenge the hitters. You don't want to walk guys, and you don't want to give up home runs. Don't let me paint that picture either, but obviously Mark Burley is in a position where he's got to go after the hitters. Fell behind there, and he had to throw a strike.
Michael Kadire extended his hit streak to 17 straight with a 1st inning single.
Well, I'd keep the ball away from this guy right now. The way he is swinging, I'd make him reach for everything.
He was in between there.
Yeah.
Wasn't really sure what he was going to get. He was late on that pitch and strikes out.
He doesn't miss many of those. Michael Kadire just swinging through a high breaking ball that stays right out over the middle of the plate. Mark Buehrle catches a break there.
Not every mistake is hit.
No, that's why you got to throw strikes.
1 out, top of the 5th. Buehrle with a 2-run lead. Willeen Rosario, the DH tonight, has singled and walked. Rosario is 24 years old. They call him the baby bull, and you can see why. He's built like a fire hydrant. Perfect body for a catcher. And he drives this one down the left field line. That's a fair ball. Cabrera will play it off the wall, and Rosario is headed for second. He'll get there standing up with the double. The 1-out double is his 9th of the season, his 2nd hit of the night. He's reached base all 3 times.
Looked like a breaking ball on the inner half, and he is strong. He doesn't hit this ball square. If it hits this ball square, I think it leaves the ballpark. But Buehrle gets it off the end of the bat just enough that he's able to keep the ball fair down the left field line. 28 home runs last year as a rookie.
Colorado now 2 runs on 8 hits. They had a total of 9 hits in the first 2 games, losing both of those. They had 5 hits, losing the 2-0 shutout in the opener on Monday. Had 4 hits last night, lost 8-3. This was the leading hit team in the National League in hitting when they came to Rogers Center. This is popped up and playable. Lind coming down from first gets there, and Arenado is retired. Third baseman pops out to first. 2 down.
Have you voted in the Kit Kat Chunky Challenge? Try all 3 new flavors today and cast your vote on Facebook for a chance to win some big chunky prizes.
Beautiful evening in Toronto, looking across from Center Island back to Rogers Center. Jordan Pacheco doubled in the 2nd. He came around to score on the RBI single by the catcher, Yorvit Torrealba. This guy can swing the bat. Not many people recognize his name right off the bat. He's 27 years old. He was a 9th-round pick out of New Mexico in 2007, University of New Mexico. And last year he finished 5th in the National League batting race. He hit .309 a year ago.
The highest as a Rocks rookie in their franchise history. Pretty impressive. Quietly.
Yeah. Didn't really know a lot about him, but you can see he's got a nice approach at the plate. Doesn't try to muscle the ball. Takes what you give him. He had a 7-game hit streak in his first 10 major league games. Ball and strike. Hits it sharply on the ground. Kawasaki backhands, loads it up and fires and pulls Lind off the bag. Reached back for a little extra and threw wildly at first. That'll be an error on Kawasaki, his 5th of the season, and Pacheco reaches base.
You know what Kawasaki likes to do? He likes to really throw hot a lot and get his momentum going over to first. But when he has to go in the hole, you can see he had a quick throw hop and pulls Lynn off the bag. He likes to take more steps than that. Just doesn't have the great arm strength that you need for a shortstop. Unless he can get his feet under him, he can crow hop for a while.
Well, Lynn did the right thing. He came off the bag to
caught
catch
the ball.
Yeah. So Buehrle can still get out of this inning and keep the runner at third.
Well, you know how we always talk about certain hitters grinding out at bats. This is a game that Mark Buehrle's grinding out on the mound. His effort tonight, he doesn't have the command that he typically has, and you know, sometimes when you toe the rubber as many times as he does consistently, he's never been on the DL. he's going to have those days, and you still have to fight your way through it and try to find your rhythm, find your location, make pitches, execute pitches. It's not always easy, and he's battling through it tonight.
Isn't that the sign of a real pitcher? Guy that can go out there and win when it doesn't have much working?
Some days you got to figure out a way to win without your best stuff, because as you get older in the game, you're going to have less and less times where you're going to have that great stuff.
Ball on the strike. Off the plate outside. Well, that's the point we were trying to make about young pitchers. If you only pitch 5 innings every time out, chances are your stuff's going to be pretty good for 5 innings. But as you get deeper into the game, you're going to have to figure out how to pitch through innings when you don't have your great stuff. Now Colvin fouls it out of play on the third base side.
Neil Wagner up and throwing.
How many times can a pitcher expect to go to the mound in a year and bring his A game? I mean, you get 30, 32 starts a year. How many times do you have your A game?
Well, my answer to that would be, how old is he? If he's a young pitcher, you know, it's crazy, because when you're young, you usually are trying to figure out the game. You don't know it all yet. And you'll have great stuff, but you'll make a lot of mistakes because you just haven't fine-tuned your brain into what it takes to be a pitcher. And as you get older, you have less stuff, but you're a lot smarter and you know how to pitch. So I think that little window in between where you still have your great stuff and you know how to pitch, that lasts about a week.
So in your 6th year, yeah. There goes the runner, and Burley backs off the changeup and strikes out Colvin. The Rockies strand 2 more. They've left 8 on so far. The Blue Jays have a 2-run lead. Top of the order when we come back. Melky Cabrera, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion. Tomorrow, the Oakland Athletics will take on the Texas Rangers. It all starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 11 a.m. Pacific on Sportsnet Pacific and West. The pitching matchup, the right-hander A.J. Griffin against Josh Lindblom. Tomorrow, Oakland at Texas, right here on Sportsnet. Well, Mark Burley gets congratulations in the dugout, and it was a battle for him tonight. He gave up 2 runs on 8 hits. He stranded 8 Rockies base runners. That's a big difference in the game, and he is in line for the win.
Isn't that funny? Chance to win this ball game. A couple of starts ago, he threw a great ball game and didn't get anything to show for it.
Well, he's going to need a little help from his buddies in the pen. There's still 4 innings left, and that's almost half a game. Mark Burley just not as sharp as he's been in his recent run, but still giving his team a chance to win a ball game. John Gibbons, I think, realizes that his pitch count's closing in on 100, and he's got some good arms out there that need a little work. And that's, again, a dilemma that he hasn't had for a while. And you have a lot of great arms in the bullpen. You got to get him some work.
Yeah,
so
it's timely because the pitching of the starters have been so good. The bullpen is well rested.
And you have an off day tomorrow. So they're well rested.
Melky Cabrera golfs that low breaking ball foul down the right side. Top of the order for the Blue Jays here in the 5th. Cabrera has lined out twice, once to left, once to center. Juan Nicasio, the starter for the Rockies, is a guy that has had trouble third time through the order. Cabrera slaps at it to short. Rutledge unloads in a hurry and gets Melky Cabrera. That's the first out of the bottom of the 5th. Nicasio is making his 15th start, and you can see there's action in the Rockies bullpen. Rob Scahill is loosening up. He's not yet pitched in this series.
Nicasio winless in his last 5 starts. He is yet to pitch past the 6th inning. So Walt Weiss knows all about his starter, and he's got his bullpen up.
Season high in pitchers, just 97, so they're very conservative with Nicasio. Don't really push him.
You know, Buck, you brought up a good point, and an argument can be made for it about the whole pitch count era. In 5th inning, 6th inning, a guy hits a wall, they get him out of the game, and he never is allowed to pitch through adversity. He never pitched through when his arm's starting to tire, and that's great for a while. But what happens to a guy when he starts losing his stuff later on in his career? He's never been allowed to try to pitch through it. So in the long run, he could have a shorter career because of it.
Now, that's a great point, because he's never really understood what it's like to pitch without your optimum stuff.
Right.
You go out, you get tired. Now, nobody is suggesting, and I'm sure you're not, that you pitch a guy when he's fatigued. But you got to push him a little bit. Learn how to pitch.
I think everybody has a different point of fatigue.
Now Bautista pops it up. LeMahieu stays with it. Makes the catch in fair territory.
The 100 pitch count is a universal number. Everybody gets there, and that's it. And there's some guys that are just flat out stronger and more durable than other guys. So to have one number be deciding for everyone, I don't think is fair.
Well, just think about it. I mean, if you're talking with Greg Maddux, who's about 6 foot tall, and comparing him to Josh Johnson, who's 6'7", I mean, their pitch count should be different just because of the physicality of the two pitchers. Edwin Encarnacion batting with 2 outs. He has singled and scored and hit into a double play.
There's, of course, the point to be made about max effort guys versus guys that seem to just, you know, the Charlie Huffs of the world that never broke a sweat on the mound in Texas.
Outside. Well, even Maddux said, he said, I can throw 80 pitches in a very stressful situation where every pitch the game is on the line and be exhausted. Or I could breeze through 130 pitches in a game where I have a comfortable lead. Every game is different. There's a shot gloved by LeMahieu. Gets to his feet in time to take one away from Edwin Encarnacion. We have played 5 innings here at Rogers Center. And here comes the Home Hardware Grounds Crew. Brought to you by Natura, Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. goes 5 innings and allows 2 runs on 8 hits. He walked a batter, struck out 4 through 92 pitches, and he just wasn't as sharp as we've seen recently, but he lays in line for the win. And now he looks to the Blue Jays bullpen to protect this 2-run lead.
Yeah, he battled through those 5 innings and left those runners on base. And we'll turn it over to Neil Wagner. Last worked on the 16th, just a third of an inning, but great numbers. He's only given up 1 run since he was called up. He's got a good fastball, a little splitter, a little bit of a breaking ball, but he can burn it in there.
That 1 run that he allowed was an opposite field home run to Adrian Beltre. He picked up his first win of his career and his first loss of his career in this month of June. He won the game against Texas in the opener and then lost the final game with that opposite field home run. Yorvit Toyalba, he's 2 for 2 so far. He didn't like that call. He said, listen, I've been sitting back here all night watching the strike zone, and you haven't called that before. Chris Guccione, the home plate umpire.
He's probably saying, well, you like that one? How about this next one? Coming here.
I'm not really sure he's arguing it for his own sake. He might be arguing it for his pitcher. Saying, let's do it both sides. Either way, it's not going to help him at the plate.
No, that time he said, you know what, I'm going to swing now. I got 2 strikes and I'm trying to get Nicasio that strike, but I'm going to have to think about protecting the plate. Neil Wagner in relief of Mark Burley. Strike 3, and he knew it. 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. One out. Wagner strikes out Torrealba, the first batter he's faced. Josh Rutledge, the shortstop, takes one inside. The Toronto Blue Jays bullpen has really become a strength. They have lowered their ERA to just over 3. They're 4th in the American League in relief ERA. And it's almost coincidental with the promotion of Neil Wagner and Juan Cruz.
Yeah. Juan Perez came up in Atlanta. They both came up together. And I was just going to say that, Buck. It's almost eerie to know that these 2 guys came up, and all of a sudden there's some power arms in the bullpen other than a last name of Delabar. Casey Jansen obviously is getting stronger as the year goes by, and so is Brett Cecil. But at that point, they didn't really have anybody to throw in the mid-90s other than Steve Delabar.
Well, I think it's also coincide with the great starts by the starters. They've gone deeper, and they can carry 8 relievers, and they can spread it out just a little bit more.
Well, and when these guys, a guy like Neil Wagner gets a little rest, now all of a sudden that fastball is going to be consistently above 95. He can run it up there 98, 99 at times.
Yeah, you could see that in San Diego. I think they used him 7 times in the first 10 games that he was here. He was throwing 98 in Atlanta when he first came up, and then it dropped all the way down to 94, his fastball. But with proper rest, like you just said, he can rush it.
B.J. LeMahieu batting for the 4th time. He singled in 3 at-bats. He is tardy on that 96-mile-an-hour heater. Stay right there.
Yep. Even if he hits it, it's going to eat up a bat, or he's going to pull it foul.
0-2. Upstairs. Wagner in June. This is his 8th appearance in the month of June, and he's gotten a lot more rest. He's not been asked to work more than 2 innings. He worked 2 innings in San Diego in his first appearance in June. That was on the 1st of June. And he's walked just 3 batters. One of those was intentional. And he's racked up 3 strikeouts. He's got 2 already tonight. Blue Jays lead at 4-2. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the first for second consecutive night. They had a big first inning. They scored 4 runs on 6 hits in the first last night. Adam Lim did the trick tonight with a 3-run homer. He is 9th of the season. LeMahieu's having a little trouble with that 96-mile-an-hour heater.
Is he set up for a breaking ball now? That's about 5 straight heaters.
He is, if he can keep it down. All he has to do is keep it around the knees, and he'll expand the strike zone. When you're throwing that hard, as a hitter, you know you got to get it started. And that's why it's hard to lay off that breaking ball that's down.
Another fastball, and he got a piece of it. This is kind of like the Adrian Beltre at bat when he gave up the home run. He was beating Beltre, but kept the ball away from him, and then Beltre just caught up to him because he was throwing the same pitch in the same spot.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a confidence issue in the pitcher. JP might have called a breaking ball. And right there, he's going to call a breaking ball. So let's see what happens here.
Missed with it.
If you feel like you can't throw it for a strike, you don't feel comfortable 3-2. And so therefore you want to stay with the one that you feel comfortable with. Sometimes that can burn you, though.
3-2, 2 outs. He jammed him again. Little pop up. Aaron Seavey is not going to be able to get there. It just wasn't high enough. Didn't stay in the air long enough for the catcher to run under it. Quite a battle going on between Neil Wagner and B.J. LeMahieu. Another full count pitch. Another foul. Nobody wants to give in.
Nope. Just keeps pumping them in there now. 3-2 fastball.
Oh my.
Can't square it up, but he gets a piece of it.
See, in this pitcher, you just got to keep on battling because you got to win this war. 11 pitches. Now they're going to be up to throw 12. And if you would have known that, and the guy does eventually get on, you just soon hit him with the first pitch, right? And save yourself 10 pitches.
Ball's all over the place, according to Pitch Effect. You know, would this be a time right here where, remember when the catcher would give the fake, act like you're shaking a sign off, because the normal sequence is 1's a fastball, 2's a curveball. If you give the fake shake, like you're shaking off of a fastball, and then go right back to it, maybe you could trick the hitter to think, well, maybe they're going to try and throw me a breaking ball now, 3-2.
Oh yeah, that's when you only have one pitch, you got to do everything in the book. A changeup right here, if you could throw it, would just freeze him. Any breaking ball down.
Another fastball. Another foul back.
But you know the sequence, how
Sure.
Sometimes you could steal pitches from catchers like that they always like to put the first fastball down. If he shakes, it's a breaking ball. Oh, okay. As a hitter, here comes a breaking ball.
Maybe just catch your breath. You could sit there and shake maybe 6 or 7 pitches.
There you go, and then still throw a heater.
8 foul balls in this at bat. That one's going to stay on the field behind the mound. Kawasaki calls for it, and the inning is over. A 14-pitch battle, and Wagner wins it. A long inning, but he retires the Rockies in order. 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Blue Jays get a couple of runners on, and that man once again, it's Adam Lynn, who's going to clear the bases with his 9th home run of the season. Tonight's drive of the game, deep to right field. One of those runs unearned because of the error by the third baseman, but Adam Lynn hotter than a firecracker.
Adam Lynn will face the new pitcher here in the bottom of the 6th. It's Rob Scahill making his 11th appearance of the season, and he's on in relief of Juan Nicasio, who's out after 5 innings. Nicasio is the pitcher of record for Colorado. Rockies trail 4-2 here in the bottom of the 6th.
Just 10 games for Scahill. His fastball's 94 to 96 miles an hour. He's got a changeup in his sliders. Good athlete.
Juan Nicasio, making his 15th start here this evening, is on the hook for the loss. He goes 5 innings, allows 4 hits, 2 earned runs. Blue Jays scored 4 runs on the night because of a couple of Rockies errors. He walked 1, struck out 3 and threw 97 pitches, and the Rockies, boy, they really live by that 100 pitch plateau. So it'll be Lind leading things off, then Rasmus and Aaron Sebia. Lind has homered tonight. He's also struck out. He wants to take a look at Scahill. Not seen him, so he has to get a gauge on what he's dealing with. Home run number 9 for Lind. Good sinking fastball is fouled off at the plate. Cahill is 26 years old. He was an 8th round pick out of Bradley University, 2009 by the Rockies. He was a starter throughout his career in the minor leagues, working out of the bullpen.
When he is on, he's got a lot of life in the strike zone. He'll get a lot of ground ball outs with that 2-seamer.
Is popped up on the infield. The shortstop Josh Rutledge takes charge and makes the catch. 1 down.
The 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
It is June 19th, and 40 years ago today, Pete Rose picked up his 2000th career hit. And he was only halfway there. How about that? The hit king. Pete Rose got his 2000 hit 40 years ago today. Wow.
What would that be? 1973.
Where did those 40 years go?
Boy, 40 years, that doesn't sound good.
Twice the age of a lot of guys in uniform.
Colby Rasmus. Colby walked and scored in the 4th inning. He's also struck out tonight. The Blue Jays trying to extend their win streak to 8 in a row. And you know what they've done again tonight? They've scored without many hits. 4 runs on 4 hits. And that's totally different than this ball club was expected to play. When you look at this club, of course, last night they hit 3 home runs. It was the 8th time this season they've had a 3-homer game. They've also had 2 games in which they've homered 5 times. But over the course of this win streak, on Monday night they won with 3 hits, won 2-0. Down in Texas, they were out hit by the Rangers twice in the 4-game series and won all 4 games.
Yeah. Making the most of their opportunities.
Three and 1 to Rasmus, 1 down. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Blue Jays have the longest active win streak in baseball at 7 games. Pulled foul. They also have an 11-4 record in the month of June. That's the best winning percentage in the month of June in the majors. And they have turned things around dramatically, and had it not been for a terrible start to their season, they'd be well above 500.
You know, it's the pitching staff. The pitchers are allowing them to win these games when they're not hitting. They got 3 singles the other night and won a game.
Rasmus rips it down the line. This is going to be extra bases. He's around first, headed for second, and he'll break it down there. He gets a 2-strike double down into the right field corner for Rasmus, his 11th double of the season.
He just has that swing where he can pull those low pitches and just hook them into right field. There's a sinker, down and away. Look how he just rolls that bat over and hammers it down the line. Stays behind that one. Hits it into right field for an extra base hit. His 11th double of the season.
You see the contact out in front of the plate there. That's getting the head of the bat through the swing zone. That's why he's able to hit it down the right field line.
In the current issue of Sportsnet magazine, we explain why it's been 20 years since the Cup came home to Canada, and we'll tell you who is most likely to break the drought. Subscribe to sportsnet.ca/magazine. JP Arencibia bats with 1 out and a man in scoring position. JP's 0 for 2 so far. Fly out and the ground out. Jumps on the first pitch, and that's going to hook foul and bounce into the seats. He was all loaded up and ready for that first pitch from Scahill.
Why not? I'm going to challenge you with a fastball, and it leaves the bat. It's in fair territory. You can see from a right-hander, though, he hooks that ball well foul.
Arencibia chases the outside pitch. Well off the plate outside.
Torrealba trying to deke the hitter, and the runner at second base showing the glove up, thinking that he's calling the high fastball, and then he ends up sitting down and away for the breaking ball.
Outside. Just in case the runner at second is relaying location, relaying pitch to the hitter. And that's all part of the game. If the catcher isn't protective of the location and the pitch, then shame on the runner for not passing it on to the hitter.
It's a heck of a lot easier to hit when you know what's coming.
Way outside, missed badly, and it's a full count. Meister Asturias is on deck. He reached on an error in the 4th inning. Walt Weiss, the first-year manager of the Rockies, pacing in the dugout. JP Arencibia has enjoyed his time here at Rogers Center this year.
How about 11 of the 15 home runs right here in this ballpark? At bats per K is a little bit higher, almost a 300 average here. And I asked him about that around the batting cage to start his homestand. He says, I have no answer for that. He said, last year I hit better on the road than what I did here at home.
This is a very good hitter's atmosphere.
Yeah.
The ballpark's good. The conditions are consistent. Ball travels, and Blue Jays, of course, very comfortable in their home surroundings.
I think it's the 10th man on the field. It's the fans.
And Sevier hits it high to left field. Gonzalez near the track, up against the wall, makes the catch. Rasmus tags. He's coming around third. He'll stop there. The ball goes past the third baseman, but Rob Scahill, the pitcher, is backing up the play. Rasmus made a good route from second to third. He was turning. And if they had made a bad throw or didn't throw it to third, he would have scored.
He made a good read off the bat. Watch him. He sees that this ball is not going to leave the ballpark, so he goes back to tag up as soon as Gonzalez picks it up. Watch the turn. He gets out there and leans into his turn, thinking about trying to score. And that's a good piece of base running right there. He recognizes the ball's not going to leave the yard. Let me move up at least 90, but he's thinking 180.
And you saw he looked and picked up DeMarlo Hale well down the third base foul line. There's a bouncing ball off the bat of his stress. The inning is over. The Blue Jays leave a base runner. We have played 6 here at Rogers Center. Brett Cecil comes into the ball game to protect a 2-run Blue Jays lead. Romero pitching in Buffalo tonight has another good outing. He goes 7 innings, allows 5 hits, didn't allow an earned run. Walked 3, struck out 6, and more importantly, the pitch count through 87 pitches in 7 innings. That's 2 pretty good starts in a row for Ricky Romero.
Yeah, 13 innings, no earned runs allowed for Ricky Romero, and good for him.
Yeah, that's encouraging news.
Go back to his pitch mechanics and the way that he has done it in the past. 2 pretty good outings for Romero.
Neil Wagner worked an inning, and he had a long inning. He threw 23 pitches because of a 14-pitch at bat, so Brett Cecil will take over. Wagner had 2 strikeouts. Look at the numbers for Cecil, and they are impressive.
Yeah, those are silly numbers right there. He has had one of the best halves of any reliever in Blue Jay history. Reno.
Blue Jays are trying to make it crazy 8 for sure. They extend their win streak to 8 in a row. Carlos Gonzalez homered his last time up. First pitch breaking ball is in there. Gonzalez has now hit 6 of his 21 home runs against lefty pitching. He's got a 300 average against left-handers.
Well, he doesn't give in to lefties. He can keep that front shoulder in there a long time and doesn't give in to those breaking balls.
The All-Star game is coming up in July, and I think this guy deserves to be on the All-Star team.
Well, you're not going to get any argument from me. I've been saying that for quite some time. He's just a middle reliever. Doesn't get a lot of attention.
Bonifacio from shallow right. Gonzalez is out, 1 down.
But he keeps pitching like that, he's going to get a lot of attention.
Well, Brett Cecil, among the relief pitchers in the American League, has a 150 ERA. He's second in opponent's batting average at 140. He's 5th in innings pitched. He's tied for first in WHIP, walks and hits per innings pitched, 0.75. He's tied with Casey Jansen for the league lead in that department. And he is pitching a lot of big innings in tough situations.
Deep into the ball game.
He's not pitching against 8 and 9 hitters either. He's getting the Carlos Gonzalez's
and the Michael Kadire
in key situations. Yeah. Yesterday's game, big situation for, or 2 days ago, excuse me.
Yeah, he got Helton and Gonzalez, didn't he? Those were the guys he was supposed to get. There was the line out, the intentional walk.
Gonzalez, Kadire, and Helton. Yep.
He walks Kadire and got Helton the ground out to second. Kadire strikes out. Cecil makes quick work of the first 2 he faces here in the 7th.
The 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Brett Cecil has thrown 6 pitches, all strikes, to record the first 2 outs. Coming into this game, in his last 14 games, he's pitched a total of 16 2/3. He's allowed 2 hits, 3 walks, 2 intentional walks, and 19 strikeouts. Opponent's batting average, 0.39.
When was the last time he gave up a hit?
Last time he gave up a hit was May 28th.
And you know, when he starts getting popular, there will be a lot of kids wearing those glasses.
Whatever it takes, he has worked hard to recapture his velocity and his stature. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. He strikes out 2, throws 9 pitches in the inning, and retires the side in order. Brett Cecil is on fire. The Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead, middle of the 7th. The TD Comfort Zone, our guests from Ontario Nature Youth Council. Welcome to the ballpark and enjoy those great seats. And over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, it's success beyond limits. Welcome to Rogers Center. Hope you're having a great night, and why not? It's a beautiful night. And how about Brett Cecil? He retired the side, struck out 2 in the 7th. And when he struck out Willeen Rosario to end the inning, that gave him 38 straight batters retired without giving up a hit. That's the longest streak in Blue Jays history. 38 straight without allowing a hit.
It's just remarkable what he's accomplished. And pitching coach Pete Walker comes up to him and almost looks at him like, I mean, that's it, 9 pitches, 3 outs.
three best hitters on the Rockies, too.
He is just pitching so well. Can't say enough good about him.
Bonifacio slaps it to third. Arenado makes a good play. He was creeping in, anticipating the bunt, and throws out Bonifacio.
The 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, as far as the All-Star game goes, last year the American League took 15 pitchers. They took 5 relief pitchers. And by my count, I think there are 4 closers that are worthy of All-Star status. And I got to put Brett Cecil on that All-Star team.
Well, there's no question he's earned that right. No question.
Who do you got? Mariano Rivera, Jim Johnson,
Joe Nathan, and Grant Balfour.
Grant Balfour.
17 for 17 out in Oakland.
Balfour's got a 1.21 ERA with a 1.90 opponent's batting average for a first place club. Of course, Mariano Rivera, he's blown a save, but we'll give him a little leeway on that one.
How about
why not? All-time saves leader.
But just one. Those 4 guys are right-handers.
Yeah.
Cecil's a lefty. Yeah. You're trying to win that ball game to have home field advantage. We can make a case for him.
Kawasaki, that's a fair ball down the right side. He is headed for second. Over his shoulder, here he goes to third. The throw will be cut off. Kawasaki with his 4th triple of the season.
If you're going to play him the other way, you better pitch him the other way. Because your whole defense has him hitting the ball the other way to left field. You pitch him in, he pulls on it. It's going to be 3 every single time. And that's exactly what happens. Fastball in. Kawasaki yanks it by the first baseman. Pacheco reads that ball one more time before it gets to second base. And he makes it without a throw. And there it is, without restart.
Munenori Kawasaki is tied for 4th in the American League in triples. He leads the Blue Jays in that department. The infield is in. Melky Cabrera waves at that outside pitch. Jacoby Ellsbury has 7 triples. Mike Trout has 6. Brett Gardner has 5. And then Leonis Martin and Munenori Kawasaki are tied at 4. 1 out for 2 ball game. Pickoff play is on, and Kawasaki slides back in. Well, it's a big run out there. Expand your lead to 3 runs late in the ball game. Rare just gets a piece of it.
The reason I had a little chuckle there is Yorvik Coriava, the catcher for Colorado, has got a lot of friends on the Blue Jays bench, a lot of his Latin buddies. And I think they've explained to him what Munenori has meant to him. And Mooney looked back at him and he did the little bow to him. Kind of smiled.
On the ground, and that sneaks through for a base hit. Kawasaki scores. Cabrera picks up the RBI. Big insurance run for the Jays.
Yeah, those late inning runs to help pad a lead really give the bullpen and the pitchers a little more breathing room. You can afford to make a little more mistake, and you can also afford to challenge hitters.
And when you play the infield in, you're hoping that the ball's right at him, because it's a lot easier for the hitter to come up with a base hit. Melky does that, and he's going to be taken out of the game.
Melky Cabrera picks up his 26th RBI of the season. Rajai Davis comes in as a pinch runner. Boy, that's a big RBI. You get the 1-out triple, you got to cash him in, and Cabrera took care of it. It's 5-2 Blue Jays.
And you have your most dynamic runner now at first base. A chance to add another one.
Rob Scahill looks him back at first.
Well, I'm sure you guys were talking about Emilio Bonifacio and his ability to do the delayed steal. But Rajai can just flat out outrun the ball at times. He gets that lead foot out on the turf, gets a good jump, and he just accelerates all the way to the bag.
Well, he's so quick. His first step is so quick that he is in full blast motion as soon as he turns towards second base.
Not going. Bautista takes a strike. Davis is 12 for 13 in steal attempts. Munenori Kawasaki, thank you very much. Job well done, Mooney.
That's just for us, you know. That's just for us three.
Strike 2 to Bautista. Jose stays alive as he fouls it into the seats. Bob Scahill in relief of Juan Nicasio. This is his second inning of work. He gave up a double in the sixth, but left the base runner. Giving up a triple and an RBI single here in the seventh. Rajai Davis in as a pinch runner. Torrealba behind the plate. Big lead at first. There he goes. Up and away. The throw to second is not in time. Number 13 for Rajai Davis. He's in scoring position.
Well, think about that. That pitch was almost a pitch out. A slide step, quick move to home. A pitch out, and he still outruns the baseball. Not a bad throw, but he's just so fast. Takes a quick glance in to see what's up and steals second. And he might not stay there.
He is 13 for 14, and he's walking off second. If you don't stop him, he'll be gone. And they're going to stop him.
Well, the rookie Nolan Arenado is playing way off the line there. And if Rajai gets a lead where he's got both feet on the turf, I'm not so sure he couldn't just beat him to the bag without a throw.
Bautista gets a piece of it. It's 1-2 to the number 2 hitter, Jose Bautista. Jose scored the first run of the game in the first inning. He reached on an error and then scored ahead of Adam Lynn, and Lynn hit a 3-run home run. Blue Jays had a big first inning. Bautista reached on the air, Encarnacion singled to right, and then Adam Lynn went deep. That's a fair ball. Arenado right on time, and Davis moves over to third. Nolan Arenado made a good throw to unload the throw in a hurry, right on the money. He throws out Bautista. Rajai Davis moves to third.
Soft hands and a strong arm. Look at this throw from where it was, and it's accurate. And Rajai picks up that the third baseman made the play. It's almost impossible with his speed to throw it from third to first and back and get him at the base.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Jim Wright's pitching coach has popped out of the dugout. Torrealba pointed into the dugout, and on that cue, Jim Wright comes out. They want to talk about how to go about this at bat. Edwin Encarnacion is the batter. Of course, he is the RBI guy on this ball club, but you got the red hot Adam Lynn behind him. They have a left-hander loosening up down in their bullpen, but left-handers haven't phased Adam Lynn one bit.
Not this year. That looks like Josh Outman warming up just in case they lose Edwin. We'll probably see him against Lindy.
So they have their plan in place. Davis, the pinch runner, stole second, moved to third on the ground out. The Jays have added a run here in their half of the seventh. They lead it 5-2.
Well, I hope that wasn't the game plan.
It sounded like it hit Encarnacion on that elbow pad, and if it did, that's fortunate. But you're right, looked kind of fishy, didn't it? Go to the mound, have a talk. I think they were just trying to bust him inside, and ball got away from him.
That guy doesn't think so. That ball really crowded Encarnacion. He just couldn't get out of the way. He's got a good sinker. Got him in the ribs.
Yeah, didn't get much of that elbow pad. Got him in the side underneath the arm.
Yeah, right in the lap there.
So Encarnacion is hit by the pitch. Walt Weiss is out. He'll make a pitching change. He's got the left-hander Josh Outman. It'll be Adam Lynn, who's already homered tonight, to face the lefty Josh Outman. Blue Jays have a 5-2 lead. Year-old Josh Outman makes his 23rd appearance of the season. He's always been tough on the lefties, and he's got a tough lefty to deal with. The first batter he faces coming into this game.
Strictly a left-on-left type of reliever. 2-0, 485 earned run average. He can be wild at times. He's got a fastball and a slider. He'll use them in the 6th and 7th innings. But averaging a strikeout per inning.
Rajay Davis at third. He came into the ball game after Melky Cabrera singled. He came in as a pinch runner, and then Edwin Encarnacion was hit by a pitch. There goes Edwin. He gets a great jump. Lynn hammers this ball into right center. Kadire has a bead on it as Lynn just missed it. Outman throws one pitch and closes out the Jays in the 7th. We'll go to the 8th. The Blue Jays have added to their lead. The big right-hander Steve Delabar into the ball game. By Bacardi Oakheart Smooth Spiced Rum. Bacardi is a proud partner of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Emilio Bonifacio is one of the best athletes on this team, and he shows why. First batter of the ball game, he takes away a base hit from DJ LeMahieu, and then this one is even better. Look how high he skies for that ball to take a hit away from Arenado. Emilio Bonifacio with the smooth play tonight.
He has been very smooth in making the transition to second base. Steve Delabar in relief. 31st appearance of the season. His numbers are getting better and better with each outing.
Yeah, came in yesterday's game, the 9th inning, and struck out the side to end the ball game.
That is 6 straight batters that he has faced that he has struck out.
Rajay Davis takes over defensively in left field. He pinch ran for Melky Cabrera. This is the 7th appearance for Delabar this month. He's worked a total of 6 innings. He's allowed 5 hits, but he has 11 strikeouts. Delabar is tied for the league lead in relief strikeouts with Ernesto Frieri of the Angels. They both have 44 strikeouts. And he's just getting better and better, gaining more confidence all the time.
Yeah, he's got 2 above average pitches for me. A fastball, that's 96, 97, and then a wipeout splitter.
I think he's actually got 3. He's got a great slider too when he can command it. But the fastball is the one he lives and dies with. The splitter is the one he likes to throw when he's ahead in the count. And the slider, he's had a tough time throwing it for strike because he's kind of pulling to his left.
He walks the leadoff man here in the 8th. Arenado goes to first. Rogers customers, you can watch every Blue Jays game this season on Sportsnet live on your smartphone. Visit RogersAnyPlaceTV.com/sports to get started. Lots of great games coming up right here on Sportsnet. We'll have tomorrow off. Then the Baltimore Orioles will be in town for a 3-game series that all begins Friday night. Jordan Pachenko, the first baseman, late on that fastball. When you look at the most effective bullpens in baseball, they all have power arms. You want to have relief pitchers that can get out without contact. Then you're eliminating any chances of mistakes. And Delabar certainly fits that bill.
There are also times when those relievers late in the ball game, tight game, they're coming in with guys on base, and you need strikeouts. And I think that's one job that Alex Anthopoulos did over the winter, really starting about a year ago, where he started finding some relievers. He refortified his bullpen with some power arms.
There's the splitter.
1 out in the top of the 8th. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Puig's 5th home run of the season. And the Dodgers, as Jamie mentioned, they're up 6-0. Phil Hughes, a starter in that game for New York. 6 innings, 10 hits, 5 earned runs. Tell you what, there's a couple of teams that are struggling in the AL East right now, and the Yankees are one of them. Coming into this game, New York had scored a total of 270 runs, 99 runs fewer than the front-running Boston Red Sox. That's hard to imagine.
It's amazing how close they have been in the race when they're in the negative of 100 runs.
How about that? 100 fewer runs than the Boston Red Sox. I wouldn't have thought that.
No, I was surprised to see that.
So how are they winning?
They have been winning by timely hits, and they've had some role players play well who are now starting to cool off a bit
or go to the mean of their career. Pitching and defense, they're a very good defensive team. I think they're 2nd in the American League, and their starting pitching has been pretty good.
Mark Teixeira just went on the disabled list, and they're talking about the possibility of season-ending surgery. He had that wrist injury similar to Jose Bautista's. 1-2 to Tyler Colvin. Strikes him out. So after walking the leadoff man this inning, Steve Delabar has picked up 2 more strikeouts.
Yeah, just great location with that last fastball. Just pounds it inside underneath the hands, and it just actually swung underneath it, but great location right there of that fastball.
Tough to catch up with that one. That was an emergency swing.
The catcher, Yorvit Torrealba's had a good night at the plate. He's 2 for 3. He's driven in a run. He's had a pair of singles, and he falls behind. He and Chris Guccione have had a conversation all night long. You sure that one's a strike?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
They're both
smiling. You're doing okay. Yeah, when the umpire's smiling, you know that you can argue with him in a good way.
Yeah. Delabar threw that one 98, but missed outside. I got to tell you, I looked at that target that Aaron Sebia presented right there, and it was so much improved. It was amazing. He had a couple of days with Sal Fasano in Chicago, and he's tightened up his catching behind the plate. Watch the target and how he presents it. Torrealba not happy with that pitch, but Steve Delabar strikes out to side. Blue Jays will go to the bottom of the 8th, leading 5-2. Torrealba strikes out. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. Ontario, yours to discover. June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The Blue Jays will take on the Baltimore Orioles. Bring the cottage to the city of Toronto for the weekend. Enjoy the pre-game festival outside Gate 10. There's live music, a licensed area, sun, sand, and lots of Muskoka chairs. Call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com and stop by most Rogers Plus locations. Bring the cottage to the city all weekend long when the Baltimore Orioles are here. Blue Jays trying to extend their major league leading win streak to 8 games. It's been a remarkable run of pitching, good defense, and timely hitting. Kobe Erasmus hit a double his last time up. He's reached twice tonight. Josh Outman got the final out of the 7th. He got Adam Lind to fly out to right.
Better name than that for a pitcher.
Outman.
Outman.
Better than Grant Ball 4.
One guy's the star of the team, and the other guy's the mop-up man.
There's the hits by direction for Colby Rasmus, and he has done a pretty good job of spraying the ball around, staying on the pitches, and that time he goes around on the breaking ball.
He's going to have to stay in there a little bit longer against these left-handers. What I mean by staying in there, that front shoulder's got to stay in there a little bit longer. Adam Lind is doing it, and he's hitting lefties much better this year.
And right there, Outman throws a fastball on the outside corner, and Rasmus strikes out. One down here in the 8th.
Great location with the fastball there, and Walt Weiss is going to come out and make an adjustment out there. Looks like he's a right-hander ready to come into the game. Just hit the glove. Simple game. Catcher moves out there, just dot the I, hit the glove.
So Outman is done. The right-hander Logan Kensing will come in. He'll face J.P. Arancibia when we come back. Make his first big league appearance of the season. These are his numbers from AAA. Logan Kensing is into the ball game.
Former second-round draft pick of the Miami Marlins. That was back in 2003. He had some time with them. He's got a live arm. Outstanding sinker. Tough to get the ball in the air against Kensing. His fastball get up to about 95 miles an hour. Slider might be his best pitch. And this is his first taste of the big leagues this year. Is called up from Colorado Springs.
Steve Delamar, he struck out the side after a leadoff walk, and the bullpen continues to dominate hitters. In 3 innings of work, the bullpen has faced 10 batters and struck out 7. And that ties the Blue Jays franchise record for the most strikeouts by a bullpen over 3 innings. Only the 3rd time in franchise history the bullpen has recorded 7 strikeouts in 3 innings.
Yeah, when we talk about the bullpen, it seems like every day there's a new number coming up that sets a record. They're just on an unbelievable roll right now.
Logan Kensing to Arancibia, who waves at the first pitch.
And the great thing from my perspective anyway is that it doesn't appear like it's going to end anytime soon. These guys are getting the rest now. They're strong, they're confident, everything's going in their way.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're just riding a hot hand. It just looks like this is the way they're going to pitch for a while.
Yep.
To give you an idea of how dramatic this run has been, the last time they did it, October 2nd, 1992, when a fellow named Jack Morris was picking up his 21st win. Had a couple of good relievers down in that bullpen. They came in and struck out 7 to save your 21st win of the season.
Jeez. Yeah, bring that up. They might be in town. I might still owe them.
Was two of them named Ward and Hankey?
Yeah, pretty good.
Just a guess.
Well, the first one was named Eichhorn, and
Mark
he was pretty
Eichhorn.
good. And then the other two were Ward and Hankey. Mark Eichhorn struck out the side in his one inning of work. Wardo came in. All they could do was get two, and then the big fella, the Terminator, got two more. It's the last time it happened. Only 3 times in franchise history, and this bullpen starting to match up pretty good. Aaron Sebia works the full count.
It gives you a lot of confidence as a starter to go as hard as you can, as long as you can, and know that when you're out of gas, you can look out there and say, these guys can bail me out. That's a huge confident builder for a pitching staff.
Well, I imagine it's like when you get to a point where you got one batter, say, okay, if I get this batter out, I know that I'm done, and I got guys that can bail me out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way. Well, John Gibbons managing that way right now, and Pete Walker and him are really on the same page. They're starting to see roles. They know what inning. Steve Delabar is kind of the 8th inning guy, but Cecil can be that 8th inning guy depending on situations. And Casey Jansen's a late guy.
3-2, 1 out. And Sebia stays alive. I don't care. You can be the smartest manager in the world. If your starters don't pitch into the 7th, you can't manage a bullpen.
It's very hard to get, like we were just talking about, to get into some kind of rhythm or a defined role out there. Absolutely agree with that.
Look what happened earlier in the year. The starters were going 1, 2, sometimes 3 innings. And John Gibbons had to really piece it together, and it just blew his bullpen up for about 2 months.
Another 3-2 pitch to Aaron Sebia. Outside, he'll take a walk. Aaron Sebia's 7th walk of the season comes with 1 out here in the 8th. Walt Weiss came into town riding a 2-game winning streak, and now he's staring at the prospects of being swept here at Rogers Center.
And it doesn't get any easier for him, does it?
They're heading to Washington and then to Boston, so they've got a rough road trip here.
The Colorado Rockies are 3-7. Excuse me, they're 3-9 in interleague play. They have had a tough stretch against the American League, and the brooms are out at Rogers Center. There goes Aaron Sebia. The hit and run was on, and Asturias fouled it off the catcher. We talk about John Gibbons and how well the bullpen has thrown. There's Luke standing by and Jansen getting ready. As it stands now, it is a save situation. But the Blue Jays, coming into this ball game, have allowed 33 earned runs in 15 games in June. That's a 2.06 ERA. There goes Aaron Sebia, cut on and missed. Strong throw by Torrealba, and Aaron Sebia is out. The hit and run was on for a second consecutive pitch, and Torrealba threw a strike to gun down the catcher.
Not a huge lead over there, and Sebia looking in, and that's an easy play for Rutledge. Catch it, throw that glove down, and let him slide right into it.
Is Stewart behind 1-2. He strikes out. Kensing strikes out a pair in the inning. So the Blue Jays are done in the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. Here comes Casey Jansen trying to protect this win for Mark Burley. July 1st when the Blue Jays take on the Detroit Tigers. Game time is 1:07 p.m. Come on down early and enjoy the pregame festivities happening outside Rogers Center. The first 20,000 fans into Rogers Center will receive a Blue Jays replica baseball cap. Come celebrate Canada's birthday. Call the Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations. Casey Janssen looking for his 16th save of the season.
That number 15 on Monday night, the first game in this series. Fastball, curveball, a little bit of a cutter, and outstanding control.
The ball is driven into center. Colby Erasmus on his horse runs it down. 1 out.
Well, Jansen, just like Cecil, they come in and they're throwing strikes, and Casey Jansen's been just great at that all year long, getting ahead in the count and making pitches that he wants to make, not having to give in to the hitter.
DJ LeMahieu, the second baseman. Well, Casey Jansen, you can book it. He's going to throw a first pitch strike.
Down by 3 runs. What's the thought of the offensive team? Hey, let's take a strike. Well, guess what? You're in a hole very quickly. He is not going to walk too many. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you need to go up there swinging.
Hit right to Asturis at third. 2 down. Now time for a preview of what's coming up on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Aaron Hawksworth. $27,235 on their feet. Blue Jays just 1 out away from their second consecutive series sweep. Inside to Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez homered in the 5th off of Mark Burley. He's a 1 for 4 tonight. He has 44 extra base hits. The
crowd's loving it.
Curveball bounced in the dirt. That evens the count at 2-2.
Yeah, he's so tough to hit. He's got so many weapons. And he can pick out a weakness in the offensive player and then just go attack it. Fastball, curveball. He can cut both sides of the plate.
There's a base hit down the left side. Gonzalez is headed for second. Rajay Davis gets to it quickly. This throw is not in time as Gonzalez has his second extra base hit of the night. That's the first hit for Colorado since the 5th inning.
Not a bad pitch away, but that's a good hitter.
That separates the mediocre hitters from the top hitters. Be able to handle pitches like that. You're down in the count, and you get a pitch out over the plate that you know is a strike. You have to protect, and you're able to drive it with authority out to the left field wall.
Michael Kadire extended his hit streak to 17 straight in his first at bat. He has since gone 0 for 3, 1 for 4 on the night. Blue Jays lead it 5-2. That extra run in the bottom of the 7th is huge. Melky Cabrera picked up the RBI in the bottom of the 7th. Munenori Kawasaki hit a triple that gave the Blue Jays their 5th run. Willing Rosario, the DH, is on deck. He has singled and doubled tonight. There's a strike, 3-1.
Well, Casey knows that this is the guy he wants right here. They don't want that tying run to come to the plate. He's going to have to make a pitch against a pretty good hitter.
Full count. 2 outs. On the ground. Kawasaki at short. Long throw. Ball game. Casey Jansen picks up his 16th save of the season. Mark Burley the win. Good defense all night long and timely hitting once again.
Oh, this was all about Adam Lynn's 3-run home run in the 1st inning, getting the Blue Jays off to a good start. A couple of add-on runs later, and then turn it over to the pitchers.
Yeah, the bullpen again doing just an incredible job. Mark Burley did not have his best stuff, but he kept the team in check as long as he could, and he was in position to pick up a win, and then the bullpen helped him get that done.
8 straight wins for the Blue Jays, the longest active win streak in the majors. They're a game under 500. We'll see you Friday night. Stay tuned. Connected on East Ontario and West on Pacific. It's Mariners and Angels. Thanks for watching.